Hi, I'm Jen.
And I'm Jane.
And we're SpielMill.
Yeah, we are.
We sure are. And we're going to talk about our March 5x5, which is really, it feels late, but it's really only the 8th. I mean, we're a week late.
So every month we do a monthly challenge of playing board games.
Mm-hmm.
And in March, we did a 5x5, which is to play 5 games five times. And we didn't do it.
We came close.
Well, we intentionally didn't do it. We played 5 games. We played 4 games 5 times.
And one game
One
4 times.
One of the games 6 times. And we just played one game 4 times and then decided we didn't want to play it a 5th time. For us.
5x4 by 5x6.
So that's, yeah,
It is what it is.
It is what it is. 4x5, 5, whatever you just said.
Yeah. And we actually abandoned one game after 2 plays and replaced it. So
yeah, so it really did play enough games. It was kind of chaotic. What was the game we abandoned? I forgot for a second.
Innis.
Oh, Innis, because it's such a good game, but it's not our style game.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It didn't play well for us, but it's a good game. We both really appreciated it. It's just not a game we wanted to play together.
Because it's basically a dudes in the map war game. A clever one, a very clever one. But those aren't our style game for us in particular. We're trying to get. I know I've played more of those games historically than Jen. She's trying to get better at them, but it just doesn't work for us because we're not aggressive enough against each other.
And when we do get aggressive, it doesn't go well.
It's like every war game's a Euro game all of a sudden. It's very strange.
Indeed. So let's talk about the games we did play.
Okay.
Where should we start?
Well, why don't we start with Obsession?
Okay. That was a great game. This was on our shelf of opportunity for a long time. We got it during the pandemic and while Jane was really too sick to play. Mm-hmm. So it's been sitting on our shelf for a long time.
Yeah, so it's thematically was incredible. I enjoyed Downton Abbey and all that, even though I am very much into the
class warfare,
but from the poor's perspective. But I mean, like, you know,
power to the people.
Definitely glad that area is gone, at least in some respects, so that we pretty much live in an oligarchy. But anyway, so but yeah, the period of, you know, Gentile England or whatever the hell. Do I know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Do you? Yeah. The period of
Victorian culture and all that's gone. But it's kind of fun to play.
It is. The landed aristocracy. They're still around, but it's a lot less rigid. And so we really enjoyed this game. I didn't win a single one, but we just loved it. We had so much fun. I think we probably would have played it even more if we weren't really just trying to get our 5x5 done and get on to April.
Yep. But we played it 5 times and it was really enjoyable every single time.
Yeah.
So
it's good chunky mechanics, very thematic. The mechanics of it, the mechanisms of it really go well with the theme.
Yeah, one thing I thought that was really fun was you have all your different household staff and you have to manage them in a way that reminded me a lot of watching Downton Abbey, where it's like, oh no, what's his name came down sick, you know, Thomas has to fill in as a butler.
Yeah.
You know, and you kind of doing a lot of that stuff. And then we played it with the upstairs downstairs expansion, which introduced like the hall boy and the head housemate, and that introduced more of that. And it was just like, and I could substitute them for that and then do this and that. It was neat.
Yeah, really good. Really enjoyed this. And whoa, oh nope, it didn't fall. Yeah, so I just really, this game is going to be in my next top 100 for sure.
So yeah, thumbs up to Oppression. That's definitely a top 100 game for me.
Oppression.
It's a save game. That's what it's about.
It is. Yes, thumbs up to Oppression. Okay, all right. Next on our 5x5.
The Hunger Games. Yay! Kill the people!
Okay.
So next on our 5x5 was Aeon's End, Outcasts, and we played this 6 times.
Oh, I love this game so much.
We love Aeon's End.
Yeah, we do.
We kind of screwed it up. We didn't read the rules, reread the rules. And there's some new things in Outcasts, like the treasures that we didn't incorporate until late.
Which is why it was so hard for a couple of rounds.
So we kind of messed up, but it was fun. It's always Aeon's End. It's always fun. I like the difficulty of Aeon's End. It's never super easy. It's a challenge to win. So
yeah,
I didn't mind losing, but we lost more than we probably should have because we didn't incorporate some of the new stuff for Outcasts.
Yeah, this game is a dopamine factory for me because you're buying cards to the market, from the market, and adding them to your hand. And
it's a deck builder.
Yeah, you're fighting the boss, and has one of my favorite mechanisms in any deck builder is that you don't shuffle your deck, which I think is super cool.
It makes it go real smooth. You know, you're just constantly moving because you're not...
Yep.
The only time you slow down is deciding what order to discard your cards in.
Yeah.
Because that affects what order they come up in, which is actually a really cool strategic bit. Yeah,
and I really just think that is super neat. Anybody that ever is familiar with deck building, and I tell them that little tidbit, they're always intrigued. So Aeon's End is definitely a top game for me, and I really enjoyed the Outcast version.
So Aeon's End is a top 100 game for both of us, I think. And
absolutely.
So yeah, I mean... it is a fun, cooperative deck builder, and it's nice to get a cooperative game in because we haven't been playing as many of those.
Yeah, and I guess that is the other point about it is that's a co-op. We love co-ops. Yeah.
We do.
All right. So our next up was Irish Gauge.
And this is the one we played 4 times, and not because it's a bad game. It's a really good game, and we really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But we kind of hit a wall with it where it's a bit brutal. And it was getting a little samey for 2-player. Now it's designed as a 3+ player game, so the AI works, but it did hit a samey wall.
Yeah, I think this is one too that I'm going to really enjoy pulling out again in a couple of months. It's the type of game that something in my brain will just like click into place at some point and be like, I want to play Irish Gauge, and we'll have a lot of fun with it, and then we'll put it away, and then we'll come back to it, the next time the gears click into place. So
and it is one I'd like to try with more players.
Yes.
So I think that one of our challenges, we played mostly games amongst ourselves. Partially that's because I've been sick, so it's been any effort to have an organized game group around especially heavier games. Our game groups, our friends are mostly into lighter games. So that tends to influence like a game like Irish Gauge getting to the table.
Yeah.
With more players. So
yeah. Now I have a whole bunch of coworkers now that are into heavy games, so we could rally together some folks for some heavier games that require more players.
Yeah, we need to look into that because I think there's when we're talking about some of these games, it'd be nice to talk about it from a perspective to say, like, we played this with 3 players, we played this with 4 players. And for the most part, when we're talking to you, we're talking about 2-player plays, unless we say otherwise, pretty much.
Yep, and then usually it's solo.
Yep.
All right. But we really did enjoy Irish Gauge. We only played it 4 times, but again, this will come out every March for St. Patrick's Day for us, for sure. Yep.
So this is a fun one, but it is... but it is a nice, small, thin box, so it'll fit in our shelves pretty easily and all that stuff. So we're not worried about that. So our 4th game was not too far up the road in Scotland.
Yes.
Glen More II Chronicles.
Yes.
And this was really good. Now, I really thought the base game was okay.
Yes.
But once we added the Chronicles in, it was much better.
Agreed. I thought the base game was fine, but nothing that would get me too excited. After one play, I was like, okay, I've kind of seen this. But the Chronicles, they take it up a notch and make it something I really want to keep playing.
Some of it seems silly at first blush, like the canoe race, but it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. And so it just added an element to the game that the game needed.
Yep, agreed.
In my opinion.
Yep. And I really love it's a very immersive theme as far as Euros go. The landmarks are all real places in Scotland, real, castles and landmarks in Scotland. And the meeples have little kilts on them. So I just really enjoyed this game. It was not only fun mechanically, but thematically.
Yeah, and I think the one interesting thing that might be interesting to play with more players is with 2 players you have to play with a dummy die, and it takes tiles, and it'd be interesting to play with a human to see how they would take tiles differently.
Yes, those types of games where another player is going to make choices and your dummy player is just going by the math. I really think it's more fun with a person. We'll play with the dummy player for sure.
It's more
if
dynamic.
you have to. But yeah, because you're kind of thinking like, okay, I know that that Jill needs this tile, and so I think she's going to take that, and mine's going to be safe, so I'm not going to get that this turn. I'm going to wait a minute,
But I wouldn't change the dummy player in Glen More II. I like how simple it is.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
Some of these systems for solo play or for automa play are just so complicated and to implement with this preference and this preference and this preference and this preference. No, it's nice and simple. Roll a die.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked it, and it worked. It worked fine. It just there's that extra element that's really nice when you've got an actual human to play with.
Absolutely. So then the last game in our 5x5 is a game that we've kind of championed a couple times already, and it's about 11th century AD. In England, and it's called The King's Abbey.
Yes, this was a game we kickstarted, or I guess you kickstarted it, really. And
back in a long time ago.
Yeah, and you are building up the defenses as well as the functionality of your abbey. And it's really good. It's really fun. We enjoyed this game a lot. It's really
it's very thematic. It's very rich and thematic. It's an independently produced game, so as we say, it's like the gameplay is not perfect. There are a couple tweaks that we kind of I think is good to make a couple tweaks, and we made a couple of them ourselves, but you can make them as you go. But overall it's just a fun, rich game.
Yeah, it really is. And this is kind of what Kickstarter used to be about. Now we might be getting back to that age. I don't know. I feel like we're in another weird era, transition era for Kickstarter. But it's like looking for those independent games that you're not going to see on the market. They're not going to get to market otherwise. It's
a catch-22 right now. The pandemic introduced all the shipping cost problems and everything, which hit the small independent operations hardest. They had the least flexibility to recover and to have extra balance sitting around from other games, like other sales.
Yeah.
And some companies went out of business. I mean, it's just harsh. It's been harsh.
Yeah, it has.
But those are the ones, it's like the companies that are the most iffy fiscally are the ones that
are producing the games that are, you need to kickstart to get them. They're not going to happen otherwise. And so there is an element of risk there. The company that produced that just went out of business, that made Cryptex and Subterra 2, we weren't really sure if we were going to get our pledges.
But it looks like we're going to get them probably.
Probably. But you run that risk, and I think you're really...
We're paying shipping a second time.
Yeah, we are. But you're really not going to get gems like the King's Abbey without taking that risk. You're really investing in that. And the pandemic was really an unforeseen event that just, knocked a lot of people out of the game, out of the business. But I think it's still worth investing in those publishers.
Even if a company was imperfectly run, there's, it's just the circumstances of the pandemic made it so that company was suddenly on the verge of bankruptcy and sometimes went bankrupt. So it's just unfortunate. It's an unfortunate set of circumstances. But King's Abbey is definitely one of those gems I've gotten out of Kickstarter that I'm very happy with.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And so that's our 5x5 for March.
Yeah, it was fun. Now we're doing something different for April and May.
Yes.
We're doing a 30x2.
Yes.
Which is a little bit aggressive, but what it is basically we weren't playing our Shelf of Opportunity games fast enough. We wanted to make a bigger dent in them. And so our goal in April in particular is 30 new games played twice each.
Yeah, and these are not light games. We are looking at, Art Nova. We just played Art Nova. Right. Off the Shelf of Opportunity. So we're really excited. Again, we're just like coming out of the dark ages. It's a mix.
We just played Oh My Goods and Snapshot Wildlife Photography. And then we had one game That was Nancy Drew Hunt for
Hunt to Killer, yeah.
That was a one play. It's just a game that you can only play once, like an exit game kind of thing. And so we actually played Suspects 3 times, so we're counting it as done.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. So. But it's a great way for us to kind of make up for some lost time and get through those games we've really been wishing we could play. And, you know, there's no rules. It's about having fun and doing what you want to do. So this is a challenge we set for ourselves, and we're really excited for it.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's going well so far. We fell a couple days behind when we were doing Arc Nova. The learning process was slow. It was I'm the learner, and I struggle with my illness, so sometimes I struggle, especially with the heavier games. And then, but we got through it, and then we've been playing catch up over the weekend, and we're almost caught up. We'll be caught up today.
Yep.
So that's very exciting. Yeah,
so check us out again next month, and we'll tell you how our 30x2 went.
Yeah, we'll tell you about 30 games. We won't go into too much detail on them. We'll try to keep it short, but yep.
All right.
All right, remember, every day at your game
is a holiday.
Bye.
Bye.